Grandma's recipes, and the secret of sleep. There are moments in life when the simplest memories carry the most profound lessons. For me, one of those memories always begins in my grandmother's kitchen. It was a small, sunlit space with wooden shelves that sagged under the weight of jars, bottles, and tins, each one carefully labeled in her neat handwriting. There were dried herbs hanging from the beams, bunches of lavender tied with twine, and bowls of fruit that seemed to glow with their own warmth. To a child's eyes, it wasn't just a kitchen, it was a place of alchemy, where flavors blended with wisdom, and recipes were not only for the tongue, but also for the heart and body. My grandmother believed deeply that food was more than sustenance. It was medicine, comfort, and even a kind of spiritual practice. She often said that if you listened closely, your body would tell you what it needed, and the earth had already prepared it. And among her many health secrets, one remedy always stood out: fennel tea, a natural relaxant that she swore could calm not only the stomach, but also the restless mind. I remember one evening in particular, a night when sleep seemed impossible to find. I must have been about 12, lying in bed, staring at the shadows that played across the ceiling. My mind raced with the day's worries, small though they were, and every time I tried to close my eyes, my body resisted, buzzing with a strange energy. Hearing my restless shifting, my grandmother came in quietly, carrying a steaming cup in her hands. The aroma was both sweet and earthy, and as she placed it beside my bed, she whispered, "Fennel tea. Drink slowly. It will tell your body it's safe to rest." I obeyed, taking careful sips, feeling the warmth travel through me. By the time the cup was empty, the heaviness of sleep had already begun to wrap itself around me, and my last memory of that night was her soft smile as she tucked the blanket under my chin. From that moment, I carried with me not just the flavor of fennel tea, but the deeper truth behind her gesture: that the path to better sleep is often built on simple rituals of care rooted in wisdom passed down through generations. Sleep, as my grandmother often explained, is not just about closing your eyes. It is about teaching your body and your mind that they can let go, that they are safe enough to release the tension they have carried throughout the day. She would often say that insomnia was not a punishment, but a signal, a reminder that something in the rhythm of your life had gone off balance. Her advice for better sleep was never about pills or drastic measures. Instead, it was a symphony of small, mindful habits: dimming the lights in the evening, avoiding heavy meals close to bedtime, keeping the bedroom cool and uncluttered, and most importantly, giving yourself permission to rest. She believed that rest was not laziness, it was the foundation of strength. And for those moments when the mind resisted, fennel tea was her trusted ally, a bridge between wakefulness and dreams. The more I reflect on her wisdom, the more I realize how revolutionary it was in its simplicity. Today, we live in a world where sleep has become a struggle for so many. Surrounded by screens, consumed by deadlines, and overstimulated by noise and information, people toss and turn, desperate for the rest their bodies crave, but unable to surrender to it. We chase complicated solutions, expensive gadgets, and high-tech sleep trackers, forgetting that the answers may already be within reach, hidden in the traditions of those who came before us. My grandmother never used the word science, but her practices were rooted in it. Fennel, for instance, contains compounds that act as natural muscle relaxants, soothing the nervous system, easing digestion, and preparing the body for rest. Modern research confirms what she already knew by instinct. Fennel tea reduces anxiety, lowers tension, and signals to the brain that it is time to unwind. She had a way of weaving health into everyday life so seamlessly that it never felt like effort. Her recipes were not elaborate, they were earthy and practical, designed not only to fill the stomach but also to balance the body. If you had a cold, she simmered broth with garlic and ginger. If your stomach ached, she prepared rice porridge with a hint of cinnamon. If you were anxious, she would brew teas with chamomile, lavender, or fennel, each herb chosen like a brushstroke in a painting, each sip part of a greater picture of healing. What amazed me as I grew older was how much of her knowledge matched what I later found in books about nutrition, herbal medicine, and sleep hygiene. She had never studied in universities, yet her wisdom surpassed textbooks because it came not only from knowledge, but from love. Among all her health tips, the lessons about sleep stayed with me the longest. She explained that preparing for sleep begins long before you lay your head on the pillow. It starts with how you carry yourself during the day. Whether you take time to breathe deeply, whether you eat meals that are gentle on your digestion, whether you allow moments of silence amidst the noise. She encouraged routines, not as rigid rules, but as gentle reminders to the body that life follows a rhythm. She taught me that in the evening, you should dim the lights and quiet the house, signaling to your inner clock that the day is closing. She would hum softly while preparing fennel tea, letting the sound of her voice calm the space as much as the drink itself. She told me to read something peaceful, never to end the day with harsh images or anxious thoughts, because what you carry into sleep will shape the dreams that follow. It took me years to understand the depth of her teaching. In college, when I found myself drinking coffee at midnight and collapsing in bed with a phone in hand, I paid the price with restless nights and groggy mornings. I would remember her words then, feeling guilty that I had ignored them. Eventually, I returned to her methods, almost out of desperation, and discovered their timeless power. One night, after weeks of poor sleep, I prepared fennel tea just as she had, inhaling the sweet aroma before sipping slowly. I turned off all screens an hour before bed, dimmed the lights, and read an old book of poetry. By the time I lay down, I felt as though I had stepped into a different world, one where rest was not forced but invited. That night, I slept deeply, and in the morning I realized that my grandmother's rituals were not old-fashioned at all. They were the keys to a wisdom that modern life had tried to bury but could never erase. Her approach to health was always holistic, never isolating one symptom from the rest of the body. She would say that if you cannot sleep, you should ask not only what you are doing at night, but also how you are living during the day. Are you feeding your body with kindness? Are you walking enough to let your muscles breathe? Are you holding on to thoughts that do not serve you? She believed that insomnia was often the echo of unresolved emotions, a sign that the mind was too crowded to rest. Her solution was not to silence the mind by force, but to soothe it with ritual, to remind it of gentleness. Fennel tea was part of that ritual, but so was conversation, storytelling, and the simple act of sitting together in silence. Looking back, I realized that my grandmother's recipes and health tips were more than remedies. They were philosophies. Each dish, each cup of tea, carried with it the belief that nature provides what we need if only we learn to listen. Each ritual for sleep carried the reminder that rest is sacred, not something to be stolen in between tasks, but something to be honored as essential. Her kitchen was not just a place of food, it was a sanctuary where the body, mind, and spirit were nourished together. Today, when I share her wisdom with others, I see the same look of wonder I once had as a child. People are amazed to learn that something as simple as fennel tea can ease insomnia, that dimming the lights can signal the body to release melatonin, that creating a bedtime routine can transform restless nights into peaceful ones. And yet, beneath the science and explanations, the real power lies in the care behind the act. To brew tea for yourself, to give yourself the gift of stillness, is to acknowledge that you are worthy of rest. So when people ask me for tips for better sleep, I begin not with technology or supplements, but with my grandmother's wisdom. I tell them, create rituals that soothe you, not because they are trendy, but because they remind your body that it is safe. Drink fennel tea before bed, not as a quick fix, but as a symbol of slowing down. Dim the lights, let go of screens, and fill your mind with words or music that calm you. Remember that rest is not something you earn by exhausting yourself. It is a birthright, a rhythm as natural as breathing. In the end, my grandmother's greatest lesson was this: healing is not complicated. It is about presence, attention, and love. Whether through a recipe, a health tip, or a cup of fennel tea, she showed me that the path to wellness often begins in the smallest acts. And when I close my eyes at night, I still hear her voice reminding me, drink slowly, rest deeply. The world will wait.